Hey everybody, week 8 pre-recorded class here. Hoping you all have time to watch this before we meet on Thursday. Today we're actually going to do something a little more participatory. I wanted to have on record just a session that you could resource to help you all in your own practice. So our health journals are complete. Thank you everybody for your efforts on that. One thing that I'm noticing in the health journals is that Qigong practice sessions are not as common as I would like to see, and I appreciate the honesty and the forthrightness. Any kind of movement you do for yourself is movement that your body and mind appreciate. But I would love to help you all find a more regular discipline and practice within the Qigong sort of methodology that we've been exploring together. So today we're going to go through a workout together that covers the warm-ups, moving the hinges, the 5 phases, and also some Taiji that we can do together. Okay, so let's just jump into it. And I recommend that you all bookmark this if you feel so inclined and use it as a reference to help you all in your own training, because this is going to be sort of a complete micro training session that you can reference and use as a guideline for if and when you feel inclined to do a more regular Qigong session for yourself. So let's get started. Make sure the framing here is okay. And let's start. So we'll find a place. Actually, let me just reframe a little bit. There we go. Okay, so let's start with our feet on the ground. We'll start with some simple breaths. We inhale up and exhale down. So there's a number of different ways that you can do this first motion. The recommendation is that we work on the quality of breath. So quality of Qigong breath is smooth, uninterrupted, and fluid with no pauses. So the places where I see people pausing the most, so they get to the bottom of the motion and they slack out for a second. They think, oh yeah, inhale, or they get to the top and they hold it for a second. We really want to pay attention to transitions. Transitions will be a recurrent theme for us today, especially when we get to our Taiji. So we inhale up, exhale down. We've been doing this together now for 7 weeks, so we can start to add some subtleties. One of the subtleties within this motion is the inhale, balls of the feet. The exhale, heels of the feet. The balls of the feet helps energy rise. Heels helps things sink. There's ways to do this reversed, but for right now, this is the most straightforward way of doing this heaven and earth breathing or chi shower breathing. So on your own, this is a great thing to do for 5-10 minutes, just getting into the rhythm of it. And over time, you'll find that the breathing and the motion can both slow down a little bit. And if you're exploring channel relationships, the inhale, we can trace our awareness up the back of the body, up the Du channel, the governing vessel, from the base of the spine all the way up to the top of the head, and then exhale, Ren channel, down the front of the body. So even though we number the Ren channel from the bottom to the top, our Neigong Qigong practice comes from the top to the bottom. This is the direction that we run the energy. This is sometimes called the microcosmic orbit, up the Du, down the Ren. And I recommend everybody keep this sort of soft focus. We don't need to have like a tiny, tiny channel relationship just up this Du channel that runs up the spine, down the Ren channel that runs down the midline of the front. But think of it maybe like a broad brush stroke, maybe like the whole back and the whole front, right? And let's descend the hands down to the belly, just below the navel. We can call this area the lower Dandian, and the hands there will highlight the awareness in this area. And this is sort of our headquarters for our awareness that we can return the awareness to during our practice to keep our awareness grounded, right? We'll go through moving the hinges, which is warming up all the joints of the body. We elevate the head, sink the shoulders, chin to chest, chin to one side, and look up, and then we'll switch. We're not going to spend a lot of time on moving the hinges. I encourage you in your own practice, move each hinge until it feels like that hinge is greased, right? A moving hinge never rusts, and our movement will lubricate each of these hinges. Especially in the morning, doing these practices on a regular basis will keep things fluid, both the awareness and the physical body fluid through this area. All right, let's come to center. Shoulders are next. I recommend paying a little bit of attention to the elbows when you move the shoulders. Bring the elbows out a little bit. That'll open up the armpits and get the rib cage more involved. Arms stay relaxed. Head stays lifted. Neck stays long. And feeling awareness in the top of the shoulders and also between the shoulder blades and in the pectoral region. And we'll go the other way. If you haven't thought of your armpits, we think of the armpits, armpits opening and closing, upper ribs deep inside the armpits, activating this whole region that we call the shoulder's nest, which is the whole shoulder region underneath the clavicles, in front of the scapula, in between the humerus bone and the rib cage. It's the shoulder's nest. Okay, let's come to center. We'll do some twisting, palms together. We're going to twist through the forearms, wrists, and elbows, back and forth a few times. Things we want to be aware of here is making sure that the shoulders don't climb towards the ears. So maybe we hold it here and just see, oh, have the shoulders started to creep up, relaxing them down. And then the other thing we can focus on is keeping the chest as relaxed as possible. We do this until we feel like the elbows and the wrists and the hands are starting to warm up. Then we come forward and we warm up the extremities with long reaches. Keys here, maximum space between the fingers, maximum extension through the fingertips, and not rushing the movement. So we don't want to get into a habit of going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That warms up the muscles, but doesn't warm up the ligaments. The ligaments are warmed up through the center of the motion by reaching long. So if we feel like this is useful, we can also do this on the coronal plane of the body. Offers a slightly different stretch. You can do that a few times. And then if you like, you can invert the hands. We keep a slight bend in the elbows, keep the shoulders relaxed. And if you do this every day, you start to add the toes, right? So the toes can also stretch, grab, stretch, and relax, shake it out. Anytime you work in a position that holds the arms up, tension will build in the shoulders. We like to shake out that tension, relax the shoulders, let the awareness sink to the hands. So for consistency's sake, let's continue warming up all the hinges. We're going to move to the hips, hands on the hips, and we roll the hips in a circle. And you can experiment with this. You can try it with the feet shoulder width apart. You can try it with the feet together. That's going to give you a different relationship, or with the feet very wide, and then I'll give you a different relationship also. Play with it and see what works for your hips on any given day. But something to move the hips, move the pelvis, warm up the lower abdomen, lower back, top of the thighs. We go both directions. And then we'll bring the feet together and we'll check in with the knees. We've seen a couple different versions of this. This is a standard version, knees together, small circles in the knees. You can put the hands on the knees if you feel like that helps the awareness. Anywhere you put your hands will naturally bring the awareness to the same area because your hands are very smart. We'll go both directions. And then we'll go down to the ankles. My preferred warm up for the ankles is a little bit of pressure down, heels lift, ankle rolls in a circle. We keep pressure in the ball of the foot. So if you find yourself lifting up that toe, that's okay, but it's not going to warm up your toes and your feet as much as if you keep the pressure down and spread your toes. Both directions. And again, I'm doing this a little bit quickly on your own. Spend as much time as you need to really feel like that area has been lubricated with the movement and with your awareness, right? Switch sides, stepping back, ankle rolls. And we'll switch directions. And we'll shake it out. Head to feet, every hinge warmed up, however you want to do it. This is just one recommendation. We like to do a couple gentle stretches to prepare us for Qigong and also to open up the lower body a little bit, which tends to get congested from sitting too much. So let's do this. We'll step out. So we'll step out and stretch. This doesn't have to be a big stretch. My first Taiji teacher, Bryant Fong at UC Berkeley, could touch the tip of his head to his toes. He had been doing Taiji and Chinese opera exercises since he was a little kid. I think his body was different than most humans. We're not looking for extreme range of motion, just some sense of gentle stretch down the back of the leg. We can pivot over the bent leg for a little bit of a different experience. And with every stretch, a little bit of breath goes a long way. And we'll switch. We can come out, find this other direction, toes up, head up, hinge at the hips. So we feel that stretch. And we'll pivot over the bent leg. And we'll come on up. Every day, we stretch out the lower body. We also want to do a balance. We'll do a couple balances very quickly together. So this balance is just 1 foot off the ground. If you are balance challenged, a wall or a table or a chair is a fine place to be. We hold this balance until we feel the foot on the ground working. If you're okay with this, we lift up for a stretch. If you're up for a stretch, let's make sure this foot is not floating. This knee is not floating forward, and the hips are gently dropped. Tailbone slightly tucked. That'll enhance the stretch through the front of the quads here. And on your own, hold a balance stretch until you feel that foot on the floor really working. So the foot, the ankle, and the calf should feel like they're working. And then you can switch. 1 foot just off the ground, up for a stretch. Great. The other balance we'll do is actually in preparation for a Taiji kick. So in our Taiji long form, we see a couple of kicks, and they're very slow motion kicks. So to prepare for that, we just lift up a leg in front of us. Maybe hands on the hips to keep the hips level so you don't hike the hip. If this is challenging for you, foot just off the ground is a fine place to be as well. Knee slightly bent, lift up till the thigh is parallel. Foot is relaxed or maybe active. If you feel like it, you can extend for a toe kick, extend for a heel kick, which we see in our Taiji forms, and hold it again until you feel the foot working. We'll try the other side. Shift the weight, knee bent, foot just off the ground is a fine place to be. Up till the thigh is parallel with the ground if you like. Foot relaxed, foot active as you like. We can do a toe kick. We can do a heel kick. Hang out until you feel that foot working, and then relax. Fairly thorough warm-up. Moving the hinges done, gentle stretching done, balance done. This is foundation Qigong, right? Set the foundation so everything else kind of comes together. Now we'll move into 5-phase Qigong. We move through the phases. We start with metal phase for the lungs. Metal phase is the most focused phase, so it's a good one to start with. So we inhale, exhale, relax, gently extend. Inhale, palms peel open. Exhale, palms down. So we'll go back and forth a few times. Breath and movement together. A helpful image for this is that of a bellows. If you don't know what a traditional bellows is for working a forge, you should look it up. It's a device that uses leverage to pull air in and out of itself. We can think of our arms as being the bellows that pull air in and out of our lungs. We inhale open, exhale closed. Make the end of your range of motion soft. So the tendency is to try to get to the end of the range of motion and then push. And instead of pushing at the end, we want to soften at the end. In our 5-phase Qigong, we can count breaths if that helps us stay on track. As long as we don't become kind of numb in the counting like we might doing reps at a gym, we want to stay alive and awake for each repetition. Maybe going for 10. There's a numerology to a number of repetitions that we do that I don't want to bog you all down with, but in general, just do it till you feel like you've really experienced it. And we'll move on to water phase. We sink the arms down. One arm to the mid or lower back, whatever's comfortable for you. The other arm presses down, scoops up, inhale. Roll over, push down. As we're more familiar with this, we start to add little details. There's a weight shift that follows the hand. We want to feel like we're scooping up the inside of the leg, up the center line of the body, and then dropping down maybe the back. If we're studying Chinese medicine, maybe we acknowledge this as the kidney meridian on the way up and the UB on the way down. Let's do one more, and we'll switch. So this is our water phase exercise, especially for the health of the kidney. And we keep some awareness in that back hand in the kidney region of the lower rib cage, the mid-lumbar area, all the way down to the sacrum. This is all kidney zone for us. Let's do one more. And on the exhale, we sink both arms down. Smooth transition. We can inhale the hands up just below the rib cage. Shoulders are relaxed. Palms are up. One hand forward, one elbow back. Twist. And switch, twist. Switch, twist. So wood phase for the liver. Twisting and torquing the torso, massaging the physical liver, opening up the daimai, the belt meridian, the lateral sides of the body. Involved in this wood phase, liver, gallbladder. The breathing can regulate itself, maybe a little more dynamic here. The tissue associated with wood phase is the sinews, so we want a stretchy rubber bandy feel to this, which engages connective tissue. And then if you want to add, focusing on the tips of the fingers as you extend forward, this engages the orifice of the wood phase, which is the eyes, or the aperture of the wood phase, which is the eyes. Smooth motion, side to side, one palm up, one palm down. If you get a stretchy, taffy-like feeling here, you know you're doing it right. All right, let's relax down. Elbows out, arms open. We'll move into fire phase. Trickiest for choreography, so let's do it slowly and get it right. Back hand towards the wall is up like a rooftop. Bottom hand just in front of the heart. Elbows aren't locked out. Elbows aren't sloppy and in. They're right in between. Inhale across the front. Exhale, press the palms. Inhale across the front. Fire phase for the heart. We've got a lot of heart correspondences we can work here. The center of both palms, Laogong pericardium 8, and then also heart 8. Palms are very active, like you have a little glowing heart in the center of each palm. You can also work in the center of the chest, Ren 17. Feeling this area gently open as we exhale. And also the area in between the shoulder blades. UB13 through UB15 is a cardiac area between the shoulder blades. Also gently expanding with each press. Inhale across the front. Exhale as you press. We'll do one more each side. And we'll move into earth phase. Both palms up. We have a triangle between the fingers. Both palms up. We inhale down. Exhale and turn. Earth phase central pivot. Relax the shoulders. Hang into the body. Drop towards the feet. Earth phase, all about the digestion, separating clear from turbid, clear from dense. We will feel density here. Let the density of the arms sink down into the feet. Feel the earth. Gaze goes up. On your own, I recommend you do this until you feel like the arms are pretty heavy. We'll do one more to each side. And we'll come to center. We're not out of here. We finished all 5 phases, but now we're going to do a little bit of containment and stabilizing. Hands at about chest level, shoulders relaxed, elbows out, armpits open. And we hold this position for a little bit, looking for a feeling of fullness without stiffness, relaxation without kind of floppiness. And we'll exhale down to the belly. And then arms relaxed by the sides. And before you unplug from this, really feel all the sensations. You may feel twitchy. You may feel like you really want to move, or you really need to drink water, or you really need to do something. Try to stay still in the midst of all those little movements of mental, emotional, and physical energy that say that you need to move. See if you can find a stable point. Whole body sensation. And then we finish by unplugging the feet from the ground, circling the arms up, down the center line. We rub the palms so we get some heat going. And then we do pressing and rubbing exercise from the head to the feet, a form of self-massage that is not necessarily expert, but it is thorough. So we start at the head, we go down the neck, we can rub around the eyes. We can get into the corners of the jaw. I have a mic, so I can only really do one side. We can do the top of the shoulders where a lot of tension exists. Maybe we give it a little tap. The relaxed hand, brush down the arms, brush down the sides of the rib cage and the armpit. Scrub the sternum. Palm heels, scrub down the sides of the rib cage, find a tender spot up underneath the armpit, and then go down. Back of the hands to the kidney region, bounce the knees to rub the kidneys until they feel warm. Scrub the sacrum with the back of the hand, and then we can kind of pound the sides of the glute, down the IT band, down the gallbladder channel, side of the foot, a couple times. And then we can brush down the insides of the leg. Spend some time right above and below the knee on the medial line. There's some juicy acupuncture points here. Anything tender you can rub, mostly on the spleen channel. And then shake it out. So move the hinges, 5-phase Qigong. This is a wonderful, wonderful practice. If we do it with any kind of discipline and regularity, it gets more and more alive for us. I'm going to pause for a second, then we're going to do some Taiji in just a minute. So we love variety. We love doing different and new things all the time. When we're learning a discipline like Taiji or Qigong, there's something to be said for doing the same thing over and over. I had the privilege of training with a gentleman named Paul Clavel, who taught up in Humboldt County, who was a student of James Wing Wu, a famous LA area martial arts practitioner, Taiji practitioner. And what was remarkable is that they did the exact same warm-up every single time. And this is James Wing Wu. He died at age, I don't know, 81 or something like that. And he'd been teaching the same warm-up every single time with the same language every single time with this idea. Do it over and over and over, and it really soaks in. So I recommend that at least part of your practice be the same thing every day, moving the hinges in a Qigong set until you feel like you really are doing it kind of on autopilot, but with awareness, right? That's the goal. So sometimes if you have a favorite recording, a favorite video, just do that same one over and over until you can almost feel the instructor talking in your head when they're not there. And you've sort of internalized the teacher to a certain degree at that point. And that gives you sort of the solid base to then kind of experiment and modify it from that. Okay, so we're going to work on Wu-style Taiji. Traditional Wu-style Taiji is taught as a long form. We're doing part of a short form. Not the easiest thing to learn virtually because of the problem of directionality. And directionality is very important in Taiji, and also the specificity of how we hold our bodies. So we're going to be doing a few basic positions, right, postures, and then a few transitions to link the postures. This is a lot like learning a language or learning a musical instrument. You practice individual notes, then you practice short phrases, and then you practice a longer sort of musical piece, or you learn how to write a word, then you learn how to write a sentence, and then you learn how to write a paragraph or an essay, right? And so a long form could be construed as sort of a longer piece of writing or a longer piece of music, and we're going to be practicing sort of the basic notes and phrasing. So let's give it a shot. So we'll start with some posture review. We've talked about a few postures here. Let's do the first one, which we call play lute or play pipa. We take one foot forward. I'm taking my left foot forward. You can take your left foot forward or your right foot forward, whatever is easier for you. Same arm that's forward, same leg that's forward, and then we take the other hand right below. I'm going to show you a side view so you can see it. Things that we note: this leg is bent, my support leg is bent, this leg is weightless. So we say empty and full, right? This is empty of weight, full of chi. This is full of weight, empty of chi, or full of dense chi, right? And the arms, we look for that happy medium, not stretched out, not collapsed in, right in between, right? We hold this posture. I have a point of contact right at lung 9 at the base of the wrist with the middle finger. You can play with that a little bit. And we check that we're not leaning back. We're not leaning forward, but are relatively situated with our shoulders over our hips and our head ideally above the shoulder. And we hold this posture for a little while and see what we can relax in the front of the body. Can the chest relax? Can the belly relax? Can the face and the throat relax? What can we drop in the upper body into our grounded feeling in the lower body? So I will call this posture play lute left because left foot is forward. We hold it until it starts to embed itself as a natural resting place in our body, a checkpoint in our form. And we'll relax down. We'll take play lute right. So I'm having my right foot forward, my right hand high. Maybe you're doing the mirror of me. Maybe you're doing play lute left, whatever works for you today. On the side, we see now I have right foot forward, right arm high, point of contact right at the base. And I go through my checks. Is this empty? Can I move my leg without shifting my weight? My support leg bent? Are my shoulders over my hips? Do I have a point of contact right in front of my chest? Not too extended, not too collapsed, just right in between. This posture should feel full without being rigid, like there's some sense of it inflating gently outwards. And we'll relax. So we have play lute right, play lute left. Things to check: not too narrow. We don't want to be tightrope walking, but a little bit of space, right? Make sure the hips aren't too canted one way or the other. Okay, so play lute moves into press, and there's a transition that we haven't really worked on, but we will. But let's practice our press position first. So I'm going to turn this way, which is my left. You can try to your right. We'll take the play lute position and then just shift the weight and turn the hand over, and this is now press position. So things to check: the weight is now forward. I should be able to move this back leg without changing the location of do 20, the top of my head. The palm of the same leg that's forward is facing me, and this hand is resting right at the wrist. Not too extended, not too relaxed, right in between. This is called press position. Then we check, and there's a gentle tuck in the hips. So we want to make sure the butt isn't sticking out, but rather gently tucked. Almost like this knee is kind of trying to drive into the ground a little bit, and we're very rooted. This is press position. Okay, we'll come in. Let's try the other side. First, we take our play lute. Then we shift the weight, turn the hand. This is now press position, right? So we'll hold our press. Gentle feeling in all directions. All right, and relax. So we have play lute, we have press, right? We have play lute, we have press. So this is worth going through on your own, just taking play lute and then press, play lute and then press. And you'll see that All that really changes is the weight and where this hand is in the front. The back support hand stays the same. Play lute, press, center, play lute, press, center. Okay. So now we're going to work on the last posture that we're working on together, and then we'll work on some transitions. The last posture is single whip. Single whip, we take a slightly wider stance. We point our toes to 45-degree angles, then we drop down. This is sort of a horse stance, although traditional horse stance usually has feet parallel. This one feet to the 45. Our single whip is a center-weighted single whip. It's one of the only center-weighted postures that we see in our Taiji form. Let's start by relaxing our hands on our thighs. We're going to do something weird here where we drop our elbows down to our thighs and then come up so that our elbows are also directly above our knees. Everybody's tendency is to go wide here. We want a roundness in the front. So if we look from the side, we see that my hands are not directly to the side, but rather to the 45-degree angles. This is our our single whip posture. And to make it legit single whip, right hand turns into a bird's beak, left hand is open. Almost symmetrical. So this would be symmetry. This is the difference. So we'll hold our single whip posture for a little bit, relax the chest, hang from the wrists, lift the head, sink into the base. And then we'll bring it in. So play lute, press, single whip. Really only 3 postures. We have some transitions though, so let's work on those. So let's take, all of us, take a play lute right position. So play lute right hand high, right foot forward. Now the transition to single whip's a little complicated. So to do this, we're going to turn the hips. The hips open and the foot opens. The hips close and the foot closes. Comes back square. So let's do that a couple times. Hands on the hips. We open the hips gently. We close the hips, close the foot. We come back square. So open the hips, not too much. Close the hips, pigeon toe, square. Open, close, square. Open, close, square. What are the hands doing? Let's go back to play lute. We open and we touch this corner. We close and we drop down towards the hip. So if I turn so you can see, I'm closed with my hand, almost like I'm reaching into my pocket or drawing a sword. Hands are still together, right? So from this angle, we see open, closed, all right? The hands actually stay more or less on the center line. So let's do that slowly. We open, we close, and then we turn over the bottom hand, shift forward into press. One more time. Play lute, open, close, roll over, press. So we have this kind of action as we come forward, right? Let's try it again. Play lute. Open, close, roll over, shift the weight, roll forward into press. One more time. Open, close, roll over, press. Again, play lute. Open, close, roll over, press. Okay, we're just going to do that on one side. One side's enough for right now. So we've gotten into press position. Now we need to get into single whip, right? So from press position, let's all do this together with the right hand high, right leg forward, shift the weight. Press position, right hand faces me, left hand waits. The next position, we're going to do a very similar thing on the lower body. We shift back, we open, we close, and now when we shift the weight, I stay pigeon toe into the corner, and I push into the corner. One of my instructors called this clown throws pie. Not a traditional Chinese name, but if we imagine shifting back, we're holding a pie, we kind of brandish the pie, and then we throw the pie into the corner, right? So turn the foot, press, shift back, open, close, throw pie. Press, shift back, open, close, shift, throw pie. Once more, press, shift back, open, close, throw pie. All right. The transitions are tricky. We have one last transition, which is that into single whip. So we're almost there. It's not that hard. We'll do it actually all the way through from play lute, and we'll work on the transition into single whip. Play lute right. Sweep high, gather low, turn the foot. Turn the foot directly to the right, shift forward into press. Shift back, open, close, corner. This hand makes a bird's beak. This hand turns over, back of the wrists together. We're gonna lift up this side. This is my left side. I lift it up and I find the left corner. I touch the left corner and sink in the middle. Single whip. Okay, let's try that again. Play lute. We open, we close, roll over into press, shift back, turn, push into the front corner. Bird's beak, hand turns over. Open up, touch the left corner, enter. That's check. Toes pointing towards the corners. Elbows above the knees. One hand bird's beak, one hand press. We'll bring it in and down. Shake it out. This sequence is called Grasp the Sparrow's Tail, with the idea that if you grasp the tail of the sparrow, you get the whole bird. If you understand this part of the Taiji form, they say you actually understand the mechanics of the whole Taiji form. So we've worked on the basic postures. We've worked on the transitions. Let's put it all together with the opening. So we start our Taiji by finding a space on the floor and standing there. Just standing. Wuji posture means a posture free of intention, so stand. When we feel like we've touched a posture as free of intention as possible, we put some intention in. The first thing we do is drop in the knees and hips and lift from the top of the head, and we do opening, which is rising up in the wrists, extending to the fingertips, rolling back towards the body and sinking towards the ground. We'll do that a few times. There's a rhythm to it. Rise, extend, roll back, sink. Rise, extend, roll back, sink. A little slower. Little weight shift forward, wrists rise, elbows sink, shoulders to fingertips, fingertips back to shoulders, back to the ground. Weight comes gently forward, stays forward, shifts back, and sink. Stay where you are, keep doing it. We rise up, and forward, roll back, sink, rise up, and forward, roll back, sink. We rise up, and forward, roll back, and sink. Very nice. Shake it out a little bit. That's our opening. I'm going to turn around so we can get our orientations right. So we're going to begin Taiji. So we start with Wuji standing. Let's pretend we've done this for a little bit. We sink in the knees and hips. We lift the top of the head. That's begin Taiji. We rise, extend, roll back, and sink. The weight goes all the way to one side. We do the same thing to the sides. We rise up, extend out. We do an embrace motion called bow. Then we do our first play lute, left side. Let's try that together one more time. Begin Taiji, hips sink, head lifts, wrists rise, extend, roll back, and sink, shift, rise, extend, round posture, play lute. Now we've become very interested in that side. This is our first transition, which you haven't really practiced. We're going to move the left side. The left side closes like a door. The foot turns, the hands cross. We shift the weight. The arm creeps out. We lift up. This is our play lute on the other side. Now facing to my right, right hand high, right foot forward. Let's try that again. Neutral spot, Wuji posture, sink and lift, rise, extend, roll back, and sink. We shift to one side, rise up, extend, round, small step, play a loop. Here's our first transition. Turn the foot across the hands, shift the weight, right hand creeps out, release that twisting to play loop. We sweep high, turn the foot, gather low, square the foot to the right, roll the hand over, forward into press. Think back, turn the foot, clown throws pie, front right corner push. Bird's beak with the right, hand turns over in the left. Find the front left corner, touch the corner, enter single whip. Come out of it. Let's try that one more time together, okay? So, from Wuji standing, sink, rise, extend, roll back. Sink real slow, no hurry here. Then step forward, small step left, left play loop. The hand and the foot move together. Shift the weight, right hand creeps out. Find play loop right. Shift high, shift low. Square the foot, roll forward into press. Roll back, turn, and push, front right corner. Bird's beak with the right, left hand turns over. Find the front left corner with the foot and the fingertips. Shift the weight briefly, return to center. And come on down. We'll do that one more time together smoothly with less commentary. Just see if you can follow and just fake it till you make it. All right. So that's the first part of the Wu style Taiji short form. We can't be too fixated on getting it perfect, but we can engage with it with the intention for it to be right. Okay, so the feet and the weight are the most important. The hands are secondary, and try to get these angles. Where are you stepping? Where are you facing? Left, right, or to the corners, front or back? Just like that sort of compass rose we put on the ground a few weeks ago. So give it a shot. Give this a few shots. If you can, watch the video through a few times, put it on in the morning and go through your practice. And it should help. It should start to stick. This is a basic framework for our Taiji form. If we get this first third really dialed in, then the rest of it comes pretty easy because we've established direction, we've established weight, and we've established a relationship between our extremities and our center, which is really what we're trying to do. When we meet on Thursday, we'll be talking about Health Journal and also doing a training session together. So everybody, please come prepared to discuss something that you've learned from your Health Journal project. Be ready to discuss your goal for yourself, your success with it, and how you could have refined it. Maybe the way that we'll do it is we can talk about, we can share our goals, and then we can kind of outsource how to make those goals a little bit smarter, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So please do come prepared to discuss that. Thank you everybody for your time. We'll see you on Thursday.